right, you asked for a demo of keyboarding for kids, and so we'll set it all up for you according to your standards, so that you can use it at any time and feel comfortable with it. The first thing we want to do is come in as a teacher. Now, the way that you're going to see this is when you go to our website, which is keyboardingonline.com. You're going to see this right here. And so the first thing I want to do is go in as a teacher to set everything up so it does all the scoring, recording, grading, everything for you. So I'll click student, and then I'll click teacher. Now you have a teacher for your school. You have a teacher login and a teacher password. Now for your school, your teacher login is SCHOOL146, and your password is SCHOOL146. Sometimes they're different, but you selected it to be the same, so it's the same 146. All right, so then you can either press enter or sign in, so I'll press enter. And all of the courses that your district has is listed. And you wanted keyboarding for kids, so I will click keyboarding for kids teacher manager. And we'll do the grading profiles, create your classes, and then put some students in it. Now, I understand you've done a little bit of playing with it, and so you have some good questions. Be sure, if you have any question, be sure to ask it as we go. So I'll click on grading profiles, and you indicated earlier that you would like this for the 3rd grade. So the 3rd grade, the goal is 22 words a minute for 3rd graders. So I will click that. And this information here, the length, the maximum errors, what this blackout is, and the correction is easier to see if I click edit profile. So the reason is because there's an explanation here, and sometimes if there's a new teacher or it's from one year to the next, you know, you might want to read this for a review. Well, your 3rd graders are going to have mainly 15-second practice and maybe a few 30-second. So on the 15-second practice, we like to have 0 errors because we want, and they can take it as many times as they want to. They can take it 100 times. But we like to have 0 errors so that when they get their goal, we know we're not pushing them on until they know the keys. Now the blackout, we have a patented method of discouraging, preventing, hunting, and pecking. And this blackout, which I'll show you, is 1/2 of it. And the no correction, this is where we turn off the backspace key while they're learning. Now I go over here to additional options. And if her goal is 22 words a minute, then the minimum should be 6 words less than that. So that would be 16 words a minute. And so we do that. If they make less than 16 words a minute, it won't record. So somebody can't just, you know, some kid can't just go along with 5 words a minute or 10 or something like that. Now the other half of that no hunting and pecking is this timer timeout. And we like to have 2 seconds for that. And I'll show you how that works with the blackout that we had in the timing options. The blackout will show you how they work together to discourage and prevent hunting and pecking. And normally we have disabled the lesson skipping. That just means that they have to finish lesson 1 before they can go on to lesson 2. But just for this demo, I'm going to allow myself to skip, and I will make a note to be sure and put that back on so that you have it available to you and your students can't skip around from lesson 1 to lesson 4 to whatever. And since we're talking about 3rd grade, they really probably you wouldn't want their email and phone numbers on your keyboarding records. You probably have that somewhere else. So I'll go to the grading scale. Now I
had a question before we go on.
Okay.
You mentioned that if the goal is 22 words a minute, then what was it that is 6 words less?
6 from 22 is 16.
And that is what?
Okay, and that's what we put in as our minimum. See?
Minimum.
16
Okay.
words a minute. So in other words, they have to at least get 16 words a minute before it will record.
Okay.
Okay? All right, now the grading scale. Different schools have different ways of handling grading. Some don't grade at all. This is automatic, and something special happens when they reach their goal, which is 22 words a minute. And like we do A, B, C, and D. Some schools do excellent, superior, average or whatever, or 4, 3, 2, 1. So you can interpret it any way you want, but it will automatically grade and record your reports this way. And the section assignments for 3rd grade, we have found that the best way to improve speed and accuracy is to go over the basics again, but at a higher rate of speed. That's why each year students go over lessons 1 through 23, but at a higher rate of speed. And of course, the errors are always accounted for. So for the 3rd grade, we go over lessons 1 through 23, and then we jump to extra practice at their reading level. And so 50% of their grade will come from lessons 1 through 23 and 50% from lessons 36 through 47. Any questions?
Why do you skip the 24 to 35?
That's for 1st and 2nd graders. If a school wanted 1st and 2nd grade, if this student that you were thinking of trying it out on was a 1st or 2nd grader, instead of putting the 50 here, we would put it here.
Okay.
So that the other half of the grade is extra practice at the 2nd grader's grade level.
Okay.
The words are at their grade level. Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll go ahead and save this. Okay, so the profile is successfully updated, and now our next thing is to create your class. So we click Classes, and we click Create New Class. And what would you like to call your class?
3rd grade class?
Okay, 3rd grade keyboarding. And you were in semester 2, right?
Correct.
2019. Man. And the reason we put a date is so that we know when it's old. We can just delete it. So I click, without having to open it. So I just click OK. And you see that we have our class. Now, when you have an old class that you want to delete, here's how you delete it. You just click on the class, and you go up here to Menu, and you click Delete Class. And then it's
That's
deleted.
easy.
Yeah. So I have another one I want to delete, and so I click Menu, and I click Delete Class, and then it is deleted. Okay? And this one, okay, if we want to keep that, because that's one of your students that you wanted to try it out on, so we'll just leave that. Now, you notice that when I click on these classes, some students appear, so that if you had a student that moved out of state, then what we would do is just click on the student, and then see a student options dialog box comes in, and it gives you several options. If we wanted to make a change, like maybe I misspelled the name or something, I could click Edit Student. But really what I want to do is delete the student, so I would click here, Delete Student. So that's what you do if if a student moves out of the district or whatever. Okay.
So if I delete a student, is it possible to bring back all of their information if they change their mind and move back?
Yes. When I show you the 3 reports, that's a good question. When I show you the 3 reports, you can, before you delete a student, you can copy their record, and you can keep that just in case they do happen to return. Okay.
Thank you.
So now that we have the classes, now we're going to put some students in it. So I click Students, and I click Create Students, and the Create Students dialog box comes up. So the first thing I do is click the class that I want the students to be in, and that's this one. And the grading profile is for 3rd grade.
Mm-hmm.
And you always want to put the teacher's name in there so that when you show them something through your computer and projector, you're using your file and not one of your students' files. So we'll put your name in here.
Actually,
And
it's Briggs.
I know,
BR.
we just didn't want to use your name.
Oh, okay.
Because maybe they don't, maybe for some reason you might not want to have your name out there.
Okay.
Now, if you misspell a name, like let's say that I accidentally put an R on there and have 2 R's for Connor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, the student password, since this is 3rd grade and passwords for the class isn't really all that important yet, I'm just going to put a 3. Is that okay with you? To 3 for 3rd grade, so that
Sure.
all the students will have 3 as their personal password.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll click Create Student, and so we'll put another student in, like Brown Leah, and for the password we'll give her a 1 and click Create Student. And one more, let's put James Conway, and give him a 1. So it takes you about no more than 2 minutes to put in a whole class. Now, if you have hundreds of students, you can import them all at once, and here's the directions for doing that. So you can do that. But if you have, if you have maybe not very many students, maybe 3 or 4 classes, it might, 3 or 4 classes, 2 minutes a class, we're talking under 20 minutes, under 10 minutes. So you can do that. So now we have grading profiles, we have our class, and we have put some students in it. Now, something I'm going to show you right now is if you ever want to contact your whole class for something, if you click Message Center, we can send them a message. So I can click New Message, and when the class name comes up, I can click, let's see, that's the class. And if I have something I want to send to everybody, I just click Select All Students. Maybe there's a hurricane coming or whatever, and we want to tell the students to that there's no school tomorrow. But really what I want to do is I want to send a message to Connor because he's doing so well. Or I could also send a message to somebody and say, hey, you need to practice a little more. So I'm going to click Compose Message, and I'm going to say, nice scores, Connor.
Now, how did you access this?
Good question. I clicked Message Center.
Oh. Okay.
And so I've got nice scores, Connor. Keep up the good work. Now, when I send that, when we go over to the student side, you're going to see that. Why I did that now. Now, I noticed that Connor was spelled wrong. Here's how you can make some individual changes. You go to Classes, and you click on your class, and you click on your student, and this new dialog box comes in, and I click Edit Student. I can make any changes. I can delete that extra R. Maybe Connor is a special needs student, and I think he's going to have a real difficulty doing 22 words a minute. I can change his profile to 15 so that he tries to get 15 or maybe 18. So all I would have to do is click on one of these and then update it. And that's how you make changes.
Nice.
So now when I click Classes and I click my class, you can see that Connor is spelled correctly. Okay, any questions before we go to the student side?
Nope, you're doing a great job.
Okay, so let's go to the student side. So I'm going to go to keepwordingonline.com, and now the internet remembers the last place that I was. So if I don't want to show students this teacher manager, even though they can't get into it, all I do is click log out, and then I come in as a student. So now I would have them follow me, and the student login is SCHO28. So I would have the students put that in and then press enter. Okay, so I'll pretend I'm the teacher. Class, let's click on the yellow Keyboarding for Kids. And let's click on our class and find your name. And for right now, your login is a 3. So just put a 3 and then press enter or click login. Now the reason I did that message is I wanted to show you that sometimes, have you ever had a student say, well, I didn't know I was behind, or I didn't hear you say that, or maybe they were absent. And so whenever you use our message feature, they have to read it and then close it before they can go on and work. Okay, starting with the blue user info, all this does is the older students maybe would have the ability, and you would want them to put in their email and phone number, but we've got this all turned off because you thought that for your 3rd grade it wasn't necessary. So I'll just close that. Now the setup, all the setup does is show parents what the standards of the course are, but they can't change anything. So when it goes through their goal, their student goal is 26, and it explains up here what the different settings were and what the grading scale is for any interested parents. So I'll go back to home, and I'll start with the lessons menu. Okay, now these starred ones are the lessons. Those are the lessons that are assigned to this class, to this 3rd grade class. There are 4 timed exercises, 15-second timings in each lesson. Now, first of all, do you see this adjust font down here? I'm going to drag that all the way to the right. You see how nice and big that makes it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, because I clicked here, I've got to click in here where my content is going to be typed. But normally the cursor's there ready to go. Now, as it indicates up here, if you finish the line, you type DDD space FFF enter AAA space, you start over. You keep going until you're stopped. So I'll go ahead and take this, and I'll show you something special that happens if I get my 22 words a minute. So I'll just start, and all you're going to see is timing and progress.
And that's because the blackout feature is enabled, right?
Correct. Hey, look at that. I made it. Oh,
Awesome.
that means that I did 22 words a minute or better. In fact, I did 36. This might have been my 10th time to take it, but I got a really good score. So now I can go on. I can either click next timing or click on line 2. Now I'm going to make a mistake just to show you what happens if you make a mistake. Oh dear, looky there. I did a good words per minute, but I got 4 errors. So at the end of the 15 seconds, it shows me where my errors are. And do you see this error here? The FFF, and I got a wrong letter there, and I've got a space there. See, it's FFF space AAA enter. FFF space A. There's no space here. Sometimes students get in the habit of putting a space here
I see.
and do that, but there's no space there. So see, I started over but I still, now because I made these errors, did you notice that it turned red? That's to show me that no errors are allowed. And notice over here, nothing recorded.
Oh.
So I have to do it again. So I can either click time remaining or try again. I just always click time remaining. Okay, so now I'll do it without any errors. Oh, we got the same little guy to come up and congratulate us. Usually there's about 8 different ones that come up. Okay, now I'm going to go to line 3. And
So that red box, I'm sorry, the red box came up. Does that mean that you made a mistake?
No, that means that the 15 seconds are up.
Oh.
Good question. When the 15 seconds are up, that box comes up, and it just shows you that everything's stopped, and that's why it's because at the end.
Does it tell you if you've made a mistake?
Yes, because you'll see it down in this box here. When everything shows that I type, remember those 4 mistakes that I made?
Yep, the yellow.
Yeah, that's what it shows down here.
So it doesn't it doesn't share. It doesn't tell you if you've made a mistake as you're typing.
Oh, no, it doesn't, because we don't want to interrupt the speed. We don't want to interrupt you trying to get to 22 words per minute. So you don't know that it's a mistake until after it.
Okay.
Okay. Oh my, I can't believe that. 3 times in a row. Okay, and I'll do the 4th one, so I can just say next timing. Now we're starting to make little words so that we can make sentences as soon as possible. And after this timing, I'll show you where all these scores are being recorded. Okay, now all of these scores are being recorded in the progress report. So if I click on progress report and I click simple report, see, those are all my individual scores, and that's my lesson average.
Okay.
Now, at any time, I can redo any of these. Like if I wanted to do this first one over, all I would do, it says right click any score to go to that lesson in line. So I could just right click on it, and there I am, ready to practice it. And if I can improve my score, the new score will be recorded over the older one.
Where does it say right click?
Okay, in the progress report that shows my scores, it's right here. Right click any score to go to that lesson in line. So if my number 5, number 4, if my lesson 5, number 4 was bad, I just right click on it, and I'm right there to practice it.
Oh, nice.
Now I'd like to show you how new keys are presented. So let's say that we're on some lesson 6 maybe. Do you notice that this is blinking red? Okay, it says the L finger presses the O key, but you know, for little kids that's just words. We want something visual. So whenever there is a new key to be presented, there will be a show reach button, and when you click on the show reach button, it shows you by blinking. Oh, I see it blinked red, so that's the L key. And if ever you forget, like what home row key, what home row finger presses the E? If I click on the E, oh, it's green. I see it's the D finger. Okay, now usually the next thing I'm going to tell you about is usually what happens when a student is maybe in the 5th grade. but somebody gets the idea. They're learning a little bit about computers. I wonder if I can copy and paste this. Well, we've turned
So I have a question before we move on.
Okay.
For smaller kids, does a picture of a hand ever come up and
No.
show them which finger?
No, it blinks. In the introduction, we show them how to put their hands on the home row, and we give them practice on the home row. And,
Okay.
And so we just show this part here.
Okay.
Okay, now I've shown you the show reach. For some older children, and it seems to start in the 5th grade, they want to copy and paste. And we've turned that off. But in the 5th grade, they're learning about computers, and they know a little bit about Word. I wonder if I can copy this in Word and then paste it right down here and get a really good score, and the teacher will never know because it's in Word. So let's pretend that I did that. So I'm going to do a Control V and look at my score. Control V, and that's my score.
Huh.
So that's really funny when they find that, because they think that the teacher caught them. They don't realize it's in the program. Okay, so really all you need to do is get them started and tell them, okay, we need 2 lessons a week, or however, for however many times your school allows them to meet. And then they can go to the progress report and see their scores and do any of them over. Before we go back to the teacher manager to show you the reports and the certificate, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, so I will go up here. You can log out. And I will go up here and I will go to keyboardingonline.com. And this time I will come in as I will log in. Remember that the internet remembers the last place I was, so I have to log out so that I can come in as a teacher. So I come in as a teacher, and the login is SCHOOL146 and SCHOOL146. Okay, so I click on Teacher Manager, and the first thing I want to show you are the 3 reports that are available to you at any time, which is why they never print anything. You never have anything to grade. You never see a paper. So I'm going to click on Report Center, and I'm going to click on my class. Now there are 2 class reports. There's a class progress and the class summary report. And then there's the individual report. Well, I noticed that Connor practiced today. And so if I click in here, then you see that the individual reports popped in, and I just click Simple Progress Report. And when I click Simple Progress Report, his progress report comes up. See up here, student Brixton Connor, and this is your record so far. You've done this, and your average for lesson 1 is 42. Now, if I want to see another student, I go up here to Students, and I click in here. Let's see what Leah's scores are. So when I click on Leah, then her scores come in. And I can click and get James Conway and his scores. So you can go through your whole class in about a minute. And if you're going to have a parent-teacher conference and you want to print any of these, you can just click Print. And then you have something to hand the parents. So this is the individual report.
I've heard that this program can also show who the leader is in a class.
I think you're talking about the game profiles. You can set up the game. I would look at that and get the directions off the internet on our web page. But it's a game that is really good. The students have to use the home row. One of the problems, and I'm glad you brought up games, because one of the problems with internet games that are on the internet is that students, if you watch them, they're all over the keyboard usually. They catch the falling star with the wrong hand or whatever. our game, they have to use the home row. If the student uses the internet games, then when they get ready to practice, their fingers don't know automatically which finger goes to what key because they've used all the wrong fingers. So it's kind of like piano. Learning the piano is very, very similar to learning keyboarding. It's kind of learning a rote skill, and the more you practice, the better you're going to be. And if you use the same fingers for the keys when you're learning keyboarding, they will go to the right place automatically. That's our goal. So that's why it's not a good idea to use internet games. Okay, now I'm going to go to the report center, and I'm going to show you the 2 class reports. The class progress report, all that does is show you where your students are. It has your names. Don't worry about the course entry timing, they're too young. But L1 stands for lesson 1 average, lesson 2. So you see, I have one student that finished lesson 1 at 42 words a minute, and of course the accuracy is okay because it's built in. So I can see at a glance if all of my students are kind of hanging together, or if there's someone way back here, I need to maybe find out why. Just gives me an idea of where my class is. And if I want to view another class, I just go up here and I click here and I can view another class. Okay, now the last one is this class summary report that summarizes everything. So it has my students, whatever their password is, and I usually give a 1, and I notice that I forgot to put 3, and I can change that or I can leave it, but whatever their current password is, it's going to show here. And for Connor, the last date that he worked is right here, and he spent a little bit more than a minute, so last worked and last effort is daily. But this is cumulative over the year. So if James is having trouble keeping up, I might want to look here and see if he's really practicing.
And total and last effort and total effort does not include the time the child is at the keyboard.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct. This is only the time when the timer is going and he's actually practicing, and he or she has to have at least 65% accuracy for it to record the effort, because we don't want a child just pressing the X key or something and holding it down and thinking he's going to get any effort for it.
Is the 65%, is that across the board, or is that something that I customize?
No, that's across the board. It's just something to prevent students from taking, trying to get more effort than what they're actually doing. This is actually what they are practicing. It's not sitting down at the keyboard, getting ready, going on the website. Doesn't include any of that.
Okay.
And the lessons completed, this is, you completed 1 lesson, and your average so far is 42, and I can compare it to your profile, and you're doing really well. Now at the end, when all of the lessons have been done, your grade will appear here automatically, your final grade, like it would say A/23 words per minute, B/21. But if you go back to the progress report and you redo some and you raise your score and you raise your grade, this will automatically update. So if you have a few days for them to raise their scores, that would be great, and that will mean a higher grade. Now, do you have any questions on the reports?
Nope, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Okay, the certificates. This is the last thing that I think you might really be interested in. And the way some teachers use it is, remember there was lessons 1 through 23 that was basic keyboarding, and then there was extra practice at their reading level. Well, what some teachers do is they say, now class, if you can practice and get really good scores on lessons 1 through 23 so that you're 22 words a minute or above on each lesson, I'm going to give you a certificate and we're going to post it in the classroom. And so here's what we do. We click our class, And Connor has finished 1 through 23 and gotten 24 words per minute, which is really good. And all I do is click Print Certificates. And down here where it says, I'm on Chrome, and sometimes the browsers do it a little bit differently, but Chrome comes down here and says Certificate in PDF, and I just click on that, and everything is filled in for you. So all you do is print this, sign it, and put it up on the bulletin board.
Awesome.
And everybody wants their name up there. Nobody wants to be missing. So it's really turned out to be a real motivator. Okay.
That's really great.
Yeah. Do you have any questions on anything about the course?
Well, I think that's all the questions I have at this time.
Okay. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and let us know if you have any questions. We'd be happy to help you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, and we'll talk to you later, maybe.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye now.
Thanks. Bye-bye.